I didn't know what a margin from profit was. I thought profit is what I paid myself. That's how ignorant I was. So along comes the Service Nation. I joined up. I said, "What the hell? I'm in debt so far now. I might as well see if I can. I might as well go out with a big grin on my face." So I paid. I had, with credit, got into the Service Nation Alliance, and everything changed almost overnight. It was like the light bulb went on.
Hello and welcome to Business Underdog, the podcast where we bring you inspiring stories for the aspiring entrepreneur. I'm your host, Eric Remer, and I'm thrilled to have you join us on this exciting journey. On today's episode of Business Underdog, we get to talk to truly an amazing, inspiring entrepreneur that has been through it all, from, the armed forces to literally living on the streets, to building an incredibly successful, plumbing organization, to then giving back to the next generation of tradesmen who need help to understand how to build businesses in a very thoughtful, simple way. We talk about overcoming adversity. We talk about building simple systems so your business can kind of expand. And then ultimately, how do you build your business and have fun along the way? The humor that Ed brings to everything he does, from his marketing campaigns to his logo to just being who he is something that I know you'll enjoy. So sit back, listen, and enjoy. Welcome to Business Underdog. I'm your host, Eric Remer, and today I feel like I get to repeat myself of the amazing, inspiring guests I get to have. Today, we'll be talking to Ed O'Connell. After building a very successful plumbing business, he is now a coach and moderator with Service Nation, a founder of O'Connell's Coaching Corner, and a creator of systems that simplify success. We'll discuss overcoming adversity, building efficient, self-managed businesses in the trades, and really highlight the importance of peer learning, system thinking, and investing in employees. So, with that, I want to introduce Ed O'Connell. Ed, thanks so much for joining today.
Sure. I don't know what to say, but yeah, here I am.
Well,
all my glory.
I want to kind of give it, after reading your background and having a chance to learn more about you, you really, truly, you've probably heard this many times, you have a fascinating background. And, from being in the Air Force to spending some time on the streets to building and ultimately selling incredibly successful plumbing biz to now giving back. I kind of call it the double business underdog, where you not only get it, but you're now giving back to the communities as well. So just kicking it off, I'd love you to share your story, from the point of, you kind of got out of the military, you were kind of trying to find your way, and then something shifted that really put you on your path to kind of, long period of successful growth. What was that turning point that happened in your life?
Yeah, that's a great question, one that I've delved into a lot, and it boils down to community. Before I started getting well, it was always just me. It was me against the world, sort of thing. And it all started with the Veterans Administration. I had I could tell you the story, but it gets too convoluted and complicated. Basically, I was taken off the streets. I'd collapsed somewhere in San Francisco. I ended up San Francisco General Hospital. They printed me, found out I was a vet, so they sent me over to the VA hospital at Land's End in San Francisco. I was pretty far gone at the time. I had a bashed-in face. I weighed 115 or 119 pounds. I was dehydrated. I hadn't eaten anything, and I couldn't remember. I can never remember even drinking water. But the people at the VA, I can't explain it. They were so good. It was the first time that I felt any sense of community. And then they put me in a group with other vets, and I kind of made a connection with guys that had gone through the same thing I'd gone through on the streets, and I started getting well. They helped me get into a halfway house, and that was another community. I really enjoyed the halfway house. It's called the Alcohol Rehabilitation Association. in San Francisco. From there, I got into Alcoholics Anonymous, and I got to be honest about Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't know if I would have stayed sober, but it became one of the best dating societies I can get involved with. And I had previously worked my way through college as a plumber. So through the hooking up with a guy who was a Korean vet, and I was a Vietnam era vet, he gave me a chance, and I couldn't believe it. He gave me a chance, and I started working as a plumber again, and I really enjoyed it. I working with my hands. I felt like I was giving back. I could tell you funny stories about it, but eventually what happened, he sold the business. I didn't like the new guy, so I went into business for myself. So now I got some communities behind me. I got the VA community. I got uh, Alcoholics Anonymous community, and so I'm in business for myself, and I'm failing. I mean, I'm really failing badly, and
Did
so
you have any business experience prior to that? Did you know
no,
anything about
no.
business?
The only business experience I had was working for other people and saying, "Screw you! I can do this better than you can." Yes. There was no arrogance at all in my background. Is to say that I'm probably the most humble human being you can ever meet. So anyway, along comes the Service Nation. There was some steps in between, but along comes the Service Nation, and by this time, one of the young ladies I dated became my wife. I met her in AA, and her name's Rebecca Kleiner. She's a tough broad. I like her so much. Yeah, we have one of the best relationships in the world going. Um, anyway, uh, I, I said, listen, I got off the streets through the VA. I'm staying sober through Alcoholics Anonymous. Um, there's other communities that have helped me out. So, along comes the Service Nation. I don't know how I found them, but I went to one of their summits, and I went, oh yeah, I know how I found them, but that's neither here nor there. I
And for the audience, will you explain what Service Nation is?
It is basically it's a business enhancement group. It's I had no business background. I didn't know what a margin from profit was. I thought profit is what I paid myself. That's how ignorant I was. And and thankfully I did realize I was ignorant. So along comes the Service Nation. I joined up. Um, I was in debt, and it cost me I don't know what that I forget what it was back then, whatever thousands of dollars it was. I said, "What the hell? I'm in debt so far now. I might as well see if I can. I might as well go out with a big grin on my face." So I paid. I had with credit got into the Service Nation Alliance, and everything changed almost overnight. Uh, once I understood break even, once I understood flat rate pricing, once I understood um, all the basics, um, it was like the light bulb went on. Um, and reading the E-Myth, I must have read the E-Myth. I know one of our members, Ken Goodrich, said he read the the E-Myth 35 times. I read it maybe 4 times. So here's Ken and here's Ed. So anyway, I got involved, and the thing I loved about the Service Nation is everything's from the bottom up. It's about working with other contractors, without any I've never found this without any, jealousy at all. Everybody's helping one another. It was the ultimate business group for me, uh, and so within 5 years and along the way, my wife came to join. She wanted to be in the business with me. Um, I told her she was crazy, and well, she was she was a clothing designer, and, she had actually studied, uh, couture, and I learned that word from her, by the way, couture. She studied couture.
I figured get a closet full of couture suits. That's what I figured.
No, but anyway, she had a great job making 75,000 bucks a year doing, what she called cutting. pattern making, that kind of stuff there. I did not want her to come to work for me because we were failing, and I needed her income to to stay in business. But anyway, be that as it may, once I got into the service mission, the community, I started making some money. She took a look at this and says, "I can do business better than you." And I says, "I bet you can." She came in. Again, I have enough non-arrogance to see where she was really good at this kind of stuff. I did all the operations in the field. She did the business. And we eventually developed an outfit with um, 10 trucks, 2 to a truck. We had 20 guys in the field and 4 in the office.
What's
And
amazing?
we made tons of money. Uh, we paid off our debt within 5 years, and then and I wanna be very clear about this to anybody that's listening. Even with 10 trucks, 20 in the field, I could not have sold our company when the time came for enough money to retire. So if you are in the service nation and you're a smaller company, start start investing right now so that your investments grow as your company grows. Because I don't know if you understand this or not, Eric, but $1,000,000 can go that quick now.
Oh yeah. Life is expensive. That I do know.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So
take me back. I want to go through a little more detail. So when you were failing prior to Service Nation, what were some of the challenges you had? What were some of the things that probably a lot of people have without knowing the business and not knowing how to run their business effectively? What were some of the biggest challenges you had early on pre-Service Alliance?
well, I was doing construction work and I was doing everything on pricing. Uh I knew what the guy down the street was doing this work for. Didn't realize that he was doing it smarter than I was. Um, and so I would do little by little by little, I was going into debt. And so I knew that, and I love to drill holes and put pipe in the walls. I'm a great technician, you know. So I didn't want to leave the new construction or the remodel work that I had, but it just wasn't paying. And so one of the things I did right, however, is I kept some remodel work to keep cash flow. And once I understood that I had to make a profit, I was working with contractors that they understood that, and um, we set up teams rather than everything was price, price, price.
Right, right.
So I did that, and then slowly got into residential work. And uh, I'll never forget the first time uh, my chief guy Roman came walking through the door after using flat rate and joining the service nation, and he had a fistful of, the old days we had the credit card machine that you had to zip, and he had all those uh, papers, and he says, "My God, I just made $5,000 today," and that was the biggest turning point that I can remember that day like I can remember my birthday.
That's
So
amazing.
that I
And
was
so
sweet.
when you got in the Service Alliance, you started to learn the business and you went back and you started trying a bunch of things. Some you're like, well, this isn't going to work. I'll give it a shot anyway and see what happens. What were some of the things that, even when you knew what you were doing, that it said you made a decision to try something that did work, that you with good thoughts, with good ideas that still didn't work? What were some of those things you ran up against, after the fact?
That's a good question. The principle behind it goes something like this. I I don't think this will work in my market. Uh, I'm pretty sure it won't because my market is special. And uh, but what the hell? I'll give it a shot anyway. I mean, I've failed before. If you're afraid to fail, you're not going to go anywhere. I mean, and I'll never forget. Like uh, one of the things that really stands out was I was totally against having um, uh, I forget what they call it, a show up uh, amount of money. In other words, people would call it and say, "Yeah, we'll come out, but it's going to be for we have a minimum to come out for. I think we're $79." And people, I said, we can't do that in my market. I started doing that in my market, and the following year I had $10,000 more than I had the previous year. I mean, it worked because the people told me how to set it up to work it so that what it did was it stopped the tire kickers and got people who were really interested. And and then it went to training my CSRs properly so that they set up the jobs. I mean, my CSRs were making $35 an hour. And the people, yeah, but they're the ones.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think if they phone a customer, they prep the customer, and then your guys go out who don't want to sell diddly squat anyway because they're plumbers, but the job is all set up for them because your CSR did. I pay that CSR $45 an hour if I had to nowadays. Because
Yeah,
anyway,
they set the table for it, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah, they're
it
well
sounds
set.
like, you know, through the alliance, you started trying things even though you didn't think they were gonna work, they started working, and then little by little from training and the work you've done, you kind of developed the system, you know, you call it the step-by-step growth system. Could you kind of walk us through kind of what ultimately evolved into that growth system that you developed?
Yeah, after reading the E-Myth and then listening to other people, yeah, I could name names. There's so many great people along the way that are still in the Service Nation that helped me way back when. Uh, I became a believer in my own personal life. The using checklists, systems, etcetera, started to work. So I said, "Well, let's see, I'll give it a shot." So, I mean, I had systems and procedures for everything. Even I have a even now I have a complete plumbing set of checklists so that when someone goes out on a job, they do the checklists and, excuse me, it does 2 things. If a guy is less experienced and he wants to feel more confident about what he's doing, follow the checklist, and he gets the job done perfect and right all the time. So checklists stop callbacks almost immediately. And then for the guys that, the experienced plumbers, the guys that know it all, I finally got them to say, "Listen, you don't need to follow the checklist. You're experienced. You know what the hell's going on. All I'm asking you to do is when you're done with the checklist, just review it real quickly. Or when you're done with the job, just review the checklist just to make sure you didn't miss a step." Callbacks went out the window. So anyway, for every single job, toilet installs, water heaters. I mean, I can go on and on with jobs. Every single like that. Now, I discovered by accident, I discovered one other thing too. My guys walked into the house. They had a checklist. They would diagnose a job. They'd go to the customer. They'd hand them the check. This is what we're going to do. And the checklist was this long. So say it was something like a simple toilet repair, but all the steps are down there. So the customer's gonna used to say, "Why in the hell are you charging me $200 to fix a toilet when I can get that part for $15 from Home
Right.
Depot?" And I say, "Yeah, but you don't have to turn off the water. You don't have to deal with a supply valve that may not work. You don't have to deal with vacuuming the water out of the tank. You don't have to take the tank off to replace all the rubber washers that are probably rotten anyway. And if I don't change them during this job, you're gonna call me back and be pissed off at me." Excuse my French. Uh, uh, so it alleviated a ton of, uh, price suggestions, almost
Yeah,
none.
it's really, really smart.
A
And
and
why
this
do you think so many businesses have such resistance to the simplicity kind of business models that you kind of put out there? What have you've talked to a lot of businesses now as a coach, and we'll get into that in a second. But what is the resistance you think people have to that? Just making things simple.
Right, this is so spot on because I just got through with my, AB60, moderator group when we talked just about this. We were talking about, price lists, and these folks are running pretty good companies, but they got lists for everything. I mean, if this changes and that changes and this changes and that changes, by the time they list everything out for a simple job, they've cut their own throat. Their guys don't know what the hell to do. They're confused. So, like, just take the toilet example, for example. There's a minimum toilet repair for X amount of money, a major toilet repair for X amount of money, and then a new toilet. Those were the 3 options. If I wasn't making money off of those 3 offerings, then why would I if this happens, that happens, do I need to reset? Do I need to my guys are going all the line items? No, no, no. Well, I kept my pricing very simple. You should have heard. I wish I recorded this one, but you should have heard the way the line items guys had for just doing something as simple as putting in a toilet. I mean, it was ridiculous. Simple. All right, maybe I miss a few things and I lose a little efficiency, maybe. But by concentrating, getting the job done right, giving the customer options so that they choose.
Yeah.
I
Well,
made
I assume from a training perspective, you're able to get people trained quicker, in the field quicker, managing quicker, all that
Yep,
as well,
yeah,
which is awesome.
yeah.
So, one of the things that, I learned about you is part of your leadership style is you lead with humor as well. And I thought it was when I saw the picture of your truck where you had, you know, was it how thoughtful or pre-thought was you had a brilliant marketing campaign where on the side of your truck you have the, woman sitting there knitting and sitting in the
Whoa,
chair.
whoa, whoa, hold on now. It's not a woman, that was my mother. Be
That was your
careful,
mother, okay. Oh,
not
yeah, I
just
wanted to be
the
careful, I
woman.
didn't know, I wasn't sure, but,
Yeah.
you had an elderly woman sitting on the sitting in a rocking chair, sewing, and next to it, it had said, "Even my mother would recommend me,"
Yeah, highly
so
recommended by my mother. Yeah.
recommended by my mother, which is I mean, it is so again, simple, but so smart, and everyone who sees that just you can't not smile when you see that thing. So is that how much pre-thought did you have in putting it out there? Was it like, "This will be funny," or like, "You know what? I'm just doing it because I wanna do it." Like, I'm just so curious because it's such a brilliant marketing campaign.
Yeah, it really made O'Connell Plumbing in my market, and it came from a real it goes back to when I came off the street. I was actually living in a halfway house. My mother had actually thought I died. She had gotten information that I'd been shot and killed, from a highway patrol friend of hers that had got the information because my ID was on, a guy who had been killed in a car wreck, and they couldn't recognize him, and they weren't gonna there wasn't enough there wasn't enough, impetus to do dental or anything like that, but there's my ID, here's this dead guy, so it came back that I had been killed. So, when I walked in off the street, many years later, my mother went, "Oh my god." She almost had a heart attack. I mean, I one of the greatest and best feelings in my life was to be there for the last 25 years for my mother.
It's basi
I mean, I could bring tears to your eyes. I mean, she was turned out to be a really I call her the world's best Dago. She's Italian, and I don't mean that in any kind of slur or anything like that because she called herself that. But anyway, when I was living in the halfway house, I didn't have any way to drive, and bus was it was difficult. I was really and I had spent time uh, riding with a bunch of ex Hell's Angels in um, a drug rehab called Synanon, which you'd have to look way back when, but it was a pretty big deal. It was along the lines of the Jim Jones thing. It started out great and then ended up horrible. But I got out before it ended up horrible, and I learned to ride motorcycles with a bunch of Hell's Angels that were in the drug rehab. And these guys were really, they're not, it wasn't, they were tough, okay? They probably were, but I got to be friends with them, and they were pretty nice guys, and they weren't violent in the drug rehab. I don't know what happened outside or anything like that, but here I am with these kinds of guys riding them. I was thinking, so I asked my mom, I said, "Mom, I'm sober now about maybe 9 months, living in a halfway house." I said, "Geez, I'd really like to get a vehicle." And I had spotted a motorcycle for $2,000. It was a Honda 400. And, I said, "If you could give me a couple $1,000, I don't know if I can pay you back because I've got all this other stuff I have to pay back." I had bail bonds and stuff like that. It was I didn't think I was gonna get out of the situation I was in, but she gave me the $2,000. So I bought a motorcycle, and she was petrified. She was. I thought you were going to buy a car. Anyway, I rode that motorcycle in the rain. I rode it cold, hot, whatever, for almost 3 years. And I told her when I got the money, I said, "But I'll tell you what I will do. I'll put you into print sometime. I'll put you in print." And I didn't know what that meant. So, lo, these years later, I got all my background cleared up. No felonies. They were all cleared. So I could get my plumbing license, because you cannot have a record and get a plumbing license in
Well,
California. So I get it, and I go, what the hell am I going to do? I told my mom. So I found this little icon picture of a lady knitting, and I put it in the yellow page, a little quarter ad, yellow page ad. And down below I said, highly recommended by my mother.
so good.
And the phone book come out. I come home and she said, "Mom, I honored you. I put you in here. Like I said, I put you in print." Well, I didn't know that I was pulling heartstrings, and all these wonderful women, uh, what's the way, they don't know a water heater, a water heater box from they just don't, they don't care. They just want their plumbing to work. So my phone started ringing off the hook just because of that. And there was a guy named Eric. I can't think of his last name. He used the riff on that, and it worked wonders for him too.
I love
Uh,
that. I love it.
so anyway,
It's funny how things play out like that, but it was, when I saw that, I'm like, that is literally brilliant. That is, because you can't not see it and get a big smile on your face. So
yeah,
you have your
that's it.
business.
See, you would have been a good customer.
You would have been the only guy I called. I promise you that. But you have this business that's growing, and somewhere along the line, I don't know if you learned that within the Service Nation Alliance, but really focusing on employees first and how you treat your employees and how you know, work with your employees. How did that kind of, evolve? What was the kind of focus on employees? How did you reduce turnover in a market that probably had a lot of turnover? So I'd just love to hear your views on what you did to be successful from a leadership, employee empowerment standpoint.
Yeah, I don't know where I heard this. It had to be from somebody in the service nation, but it stuck to me. It said, "Forget about your clients." And I go, "Well, what?" He said, "No, concentrate on the guys and the people working for you. Make it good for them, and they will take care of your clients." Best advice I ever got.
What's the-
Yeah, I want to care about my clients, and I really do. But if I teach my guys to care about my clients, that's a hell of a lot different. That's all together. So this is where the Service Nation comes in with performance pay. I was the first one to adopt performance pay. Now my guys were earning eventually, when we're really up and running and I didn't have any turnover, my guys were making 50, 60, $80 an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. Uh, I won't even tell you what my labor ratio was, but it was bad because I lived in an area that, now we've been in business some time now, and Rebecca and I had bought a house, 800 square feet. You wouldn't pay $50,000 for this somewhere else in America. We paid $200,000 for it in Marin County, California. My guys could not buy homes there, so I had to pay them so much that the commute was worth it for 'em. I actually had a deal. Perception is everything. I paid him a lot of money, but here's the thing that everyone thought I was wonderful doing this. I paid him 56 cents a mile, the IRS guarantee for if they're using their cars for a company. I said, I know I don't have to pay you to commute, but on top of everything else you can earn, I'm gonna give you 56 bucks a mile for every mile you come in and every mile you go home. And that seems like a giveaway, but boy, the pers if they used one of my trucks, it was about 250 a mile in cost.
Wow.
So, anyway, that's treating my guys that well, and then Rebecca's my wife, her nurturing is the only one thing I can say. She's tough. My guys would rather talk to me than talk to her if they screwed up. Put it that way. But we had stuff like, I just dealt with a young lady. Boy, I talk you. You want to have someone on your podcast? You got to have this young lady. Her name's Jessica Young.
I will take that lead. Thank you. I love that. I
Yeah,
love talking
yeah,
to different
she's
people.
incredible. And she's Rebecca to her husband. Uh, she puts him out in the field. You stay out there, just go out there and do your thing, and I'll run the outfit. It's like, yeah,
She runs the show and he's out doing the work. I love it.
yeah,
I love
yeah,
it.
yeah. So anyway, there was a nurturing aspect. We do things like we'd have every, I think every Friday we would meet at an IHOP and for breakfast. Everybody from my company. We meet at 7 a.m. Everybody, I wish we had AI back then. We would have had somebody answering the phones
Right, right.
instead of an answering machine or an answering service. AI is like, oh, I love it. I'm 82 years old, actually 82 and a half. And I love this new world we're living in. It's like back in the 50s when I was reading science fiction, it's all coming true.
It's pretty
So
great.
I get kind of excited about that. But the nurturing aspect, the culture, treating my people, um, every once in a while, I would take someone aside and give them, "Hey, look, don't say anything to anybody else, but here's an extra $100." And little by little, the focus got off me, got off my clients, onto them. What did they like? What I found out what they like to do. Some was PTO,
Yeah.
but nobody ever turned down $100 I offered them every once in a while.
Isn't it great? I mean, you've learned it over so many years. It's the little things that people remember. I did the same thing. We used to when we were going. I found out everyone's favorite band, and all, someone will be coming to town and they'd have, be like, hey, just want to, got a couple tickets to XYZ band. I'm like, maybe it was $150 for the 2 tickets, whatever it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
It was the thought that they knew that I was thinking about them just a little bit. Just, they can go back to their partner. They're working their butts off for me, and they come back and like, hey, by the way, we have 2 tickets to this concert tonight, and Eric and give it to us. And so those little things don't cost a lot of money, but it's just a little thought. You go a little bit out of your way for the people who are going out of the way for you every day. It goes miles, as you know. So it's great to hear some of the things you did as well.
I wanted to say one thing about you. You mentioned the partners. One of the sneaky things I did was every once in a while I'd go out with I'd invite one or two of my uh, field employees out with their significant others. In fact, they couldn't come to the dinner unless they came with their SOs. And I would start the conversation about, oh, your husband, all he needs to do to make more money is to do this, that, or the other thing. And he doesn't seem to want to do this. Maybe you could help him along. Ho, 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 ho. I got some
That is
really
really
great
funny.
traction that way.
I
So,
love that. I love that. That is great.
uh,
We can go on for this a while, but I want to learn more about your coaching. So you built your business up, got to the point in time in your life, and it sounds like in your partner's life that it was the right time to transition out of the plumbing business. And I'd love to learn about when your transition into coaching and why you made that transition and what are the things you brought to your coaching that you took from your kind of previous life out in the trades.
okay, first of all, I got to say that the reason we sold our business was because my wife came down with symptoms of multiple sclerosis. And they got pretty bad for a while, and then they stabilized. So she has lost the use of her left arm, and she walks with a brace on her left leg. But since reaching a certain age, I guess it is, the symptoms have stopped. So
That's
she's
great.
entirely mobile. She does more with one arm and one leg than most women do with two arms and two legs. I mean that. She's really a great partner. But when that happened, and I had to become somewhat of a caretaker. That is an overused term. I had to have she needed me around once in a while, and I wanted to be there. My one of my retirement objects was to ride my company into the future as a self-managing cash cow, the way I had it set up. Um, and so I would stay active in it, but very, very little. That was what but once we had to sell it, um, a venture capital outfit by the name of, it used to be called Skylight Capital. I don't know if they're in business or not, but like a PE roll up. They had somebody interested in buying it, which they did, and we got a pretty fair price for it. I don't It doesn't matter how much, um, but we took stock of everything we own. We had some real great real estate, by the way. Um, for instance, that house that we bought for 200,000, 50 years ago now, was worth 1,200,000. So, that was a great investment, and then also where I lived, the investment, the IT people were big time in the San Francisco, San Jose Bay Area, and, I got a lot of it's almost insider help, but it wasn't, and so I had some great IT stuff, and so by the time it came to sell our business with what we made from the business and, and from our investments, we have a real nice retirement income that we live in, and we moved, from really high cost Marin County up to the hills, the mountains of California. Are you familiar with California?
A little bit, yeah, yeah.
Lake Tahoe, where
Oh, of course, yeah.
yeah,
Like, it's beautiful, yeah.
yeah, we're an hour down the hill from Lake Tahoe, and or hour and a half at the most, and so, I love to mountain bike, I love to swim, I love to fish, I love to, I can't hike because my back's a little bit bad, but I can ride all day, I guess because 'cause I'm sitting, I don't know what the deal is, but
I love that.
82 and a half, and I'm still out mountain bike riding.
That's
Anyway, to
amazing.
get see, I drift off. You have to forgive me.
No,
I go
it's all good. But it sounds like when during that, although you have, you wanted the time for yourself and your family, you still wanted to give back, and that's
yes,
why you
there
kind
we
of
go. Yeah, yeah. You're good at roping me back in. That's what I need. I need people that, "O'Connell, you're drifting. Get back to the," yeah. So, yeah, here's really uh, the underlying deal. Along with my, um, belief in community, when back when I weighed 245 pounds, which was incredibly overweight. I mean, basically, I think I would have been dead by now if I hadn't done something about it. But I got into Weight Watchers, and that community helped me lose 85 pounds. So they asked me to be one of their leaders. And so I said, yeah, why not? I'm retired now and the whole thing. So I started leading their groups and just enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. And um, I actually became what they call a diamond leader at one time. But that set me up for what was coming next. And that is when we finally sold the business, I wanted to stay connected. I really loved the Service Nation. What they did for me, and I kinda mentioned this in some of the stuff that I got back to you with was this is more than a business group. I mean, you meet people, you meet friends, uh, you meet, so much more than just business. Like, I'm going to the expo next
Yeah,
week,
yeah.
and I just first of all, I get to act out, uh, so so, because I don't care anymore. I mean, what are you gonna do? You can shoot me, but you can't eat me. So, anyway, uh, I had this thing, and Bob Veering, one of your staunch guys, he said, "O'Connell, I got this deal, these one of these groups, and, you probably can't do it, but would you do this, uh, part-time for a while? Would you just do it for, just a little bit until we can get someone better to take over?" Basically, that's and I said, "Yeah, what the hell, Bob?
That was his big selling pitch, huh,
Yeah, so anyway, I started this little coaching gig, and, God, I liked it, people like me, and then I found out that all the experience that I had, all the checklists, the systems, the procedures that could make you successful, that I could pass on, and I could pass on having a good time doing it. I mean, I make my folks laugh. I make them laugh. Uh, so then and that evolved. Um, this was quite a few years ago when I started doing this, and that evolved to where if you look at getting older, you can get old and moan and bitch and gripe and whine until your ass falls off, or you can have a good time. Now, to have a good time, there's 3 ways you gotta do it. You gotta eat healthy, you gotta stay active, and you gotta stay connected. So being connected, I'm so grateful to Service Nation that they let me still do this.
We love that.
I guess I offer some value because no one's fired me yet, which is,
So your temporary gig has been dragged on for many years now. I love that. I love
now
that.
yeah, now I'm moderating 2 groups, and I like the word moderate. I made them change that, but I think I was one of the big pushes on that. I don't like mentor. I hate that. I'm not here and they're down there where I'm this is it. I'll moderate, I'll open the group, I'll ask some questions, I'll have topics going, but they talk. I want them to talk. If I'm doing a good job, they talk. So like tomorrow, for instance, I have Jessica Young is going to visit one of my groups. And because they're all, my groups are bitching that, I'll try to be quick here. My the people in my groups are being, "Well, it's the economy, it's Trump, it's not Trump, it's the Democrats, it's the Republicans, it's this, it's that, it's too religious, there's no religion, you're an atheist." I go, "Da, da." And here's this young lady, grew by 55% from last year.
Wow.
Yeah, wow. You know, doing all the stuff on her own that she's learned from other people, just like I did.
Yeah.
And, I just love her, Jessica. I just love her. I think she's just if you don't have her on here, you're making a mistake.
Oh, she's the next call I make when we finish this
Okay.
podcast. I'm looking
Okay,
for you.
but anyway, tomorrow, I'm having her visit this group to just let them know, "Look, you can bitch, whine, grow, but the economy is not the economy. It's, people are holding on to their money." What is she doing? She grew by 55%. And then Chris Michelle is gonna come to the 7 Pillars group that I'm lucky enough to moderate for operations. He's gonna talk about DISC assessments, because that's something one of the benefits we offer our, alliance members. But yeah, okay, I get this assessment. What do I do with it? Well, there's a way you can stick that assessment into AI, have them give you feedback, and away you go.
That's
So
amazing.
this is what I wanna offer new stuff like this to people, and I would love if every meeting that I had, I could give you one idea that would increase your bottom line.
Mm.
That's what I try to do. For instance,
Well,
today and I'll let you go, but today we
no,
talked
no, no,
about
I don't wanna go. I have a couple more things for you. You brought something up so interesting. You talked about the assessments going into AI, and you and I talked about earlier about the virtual assistant AIs and things of that nature that we're actually launching in our products as well. You know, I love, you've been through it all. You've gone through your career. You're at an age where most people are not interested in the next levels of technology. But you have a lot of ideas and thoughts about how that's going to impact, the world of the trades going forward. I'd love just high level, how do you see AI and some of the technology impacting kind of, the world you're living in, the plumbing, HVAC, electrical world going forward?
well, I think one of the biggest parts, and this comes from others, Daniel Lagarce, Nathan Berg, they're parts of my meetings. Um, they're using AI to not have dropped calls. In other words, if you're not having AI actually do the answering for you, you have a CSRs answering. Well, calls are coming in while she's on the phone, or they if you have more than one, they're on the phone, and the minute that a caller hears that they're going to be put on hold or they'll call back, they're somewhere else. Now, AI, one of the things AI is doing, and they're answering the quest, they're answering the call, they're even setting up the appointment. The only thing they may not be doing is dispatching, but they're setting up the appointment for dispatching. all these calls coming in used to get dropped. We didn't even know it was happening.
Yeah.
Are now being captured. So that's going to reduce your marketing tons. So that's only one way. And then it took me months to set up checklists. Months. And so just for the hell of it, when I first got into Chat GPT, I said, make me a checklist for installing a toilet. What took me months, that damn thing did it in 1 minute.
You're like, all this knowledge that I built and I knew, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
this thing kicks it off in 30 seconds. I love that so much.
If I were 10 years younger, I'd start another business.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Well, it is right there for people, and most people don't utilize that. And so it kind of is a great way to end it with understanding, what are the lessons? You have many. You probably give me 50, but the top 3 lessons you've learned on your journey that you'd love to share with other aspiring entrepreneurs, whether they're in the plumbing space or just other kind of trade verticals, or just small business in general that have really helped you along your way.
Well, first of all, get involved with the community. And then once you're involved with the community, take advantage of it. Pretend you're ignorant. That wasn't hard in my case, but pretend you're ignorant. If you set goals, and then sub goals, which are basically checklists. If you want to get something done, set a goal. Goals are self-fulfilling prophecies. But checklists for everything, and then community. You started out saying something. So many people want the silver bullet. Well, the silver bullet is knowledge, but unless you implement that knowledge, you're dead in the water. I mean, I'm dealing with people that are much smarter than I am, and they know more than I do, but they don't implement. I can't get them to forget everything else and just do one step.
Yeah. Ed, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was, you talk about the silver bullet. Everybody does want the drink the magic elixir, the silver bullet. And the truth is, it's never one big thing. It's all the little things you do every single day that you look back 1 year, 2 year, 5 years, and you're like, look, we built a really great business. These are the things we did, and so that's
how I was gonna end it, was basics. Since I started the 7 Pillars group, I've had large companies that don't track what each of their trucks is producing every single day.
Interesting.
I was like, what? Especially HVAC outfits. These guys they're money. I mean, they can make more money in a day than some plumbing companies can make in a year. But the fact of the matter is, they can make even more. They think their service end is to get leads for their sales end. Make your service a profit center as well as your sales, and watch yourself fly. So anyway, I interrupted you. Go ahead, finish up.
No, this is everything that comes out of your mouth is knowledge that all of us, myself included, can learn from. You've had an incredible journey, an incredible kind of experience, both, what you've gone through, to get to where you are now. I mean, I can guarantee you there's many points along that journey that you didn't think you'd end up where you are today. And by the way, Ed, that is so inspiring to people who are in situations that they're like, I'm in a pretty shitty situation. And then they can hear this from you. I'm like, well, you know what? Ed O'Connell was in a worse situation than you were, right? You were down and out as down and out comes. And what you've created and what you've built and the lives you've touched along the way is pretty incredible. So Ed, I just can't thank you enough for taking your time today.
Well, I want to mention one more thing too. I tell you, if there are 2 people in the world that are like semi-deities to me, would be Matt Michelle and David Heimer for even starting the Service Nation. Those guys knew how to do it from the contractor's point of view rather than from public a PE point of view. They did it from the bottom up rather from the top down. I will not leave without mentioning those 2 guys.
No, they're genuinely good guys. I have a lot of respect and admiration for both of them as well.
Yeah. And it was great meeting you, Eric. You're a hell of a guy too. I'm kind of glad I still have more hair than you do, but other than that, one is late.
Hey, you know what? Maybe by 82, it'll come back to me. I don't know. We'll see. And I appreciate it, man. That way, this was super fun. And again, thanks so much for joining today. Thank you for joining me on this episode. I'd like to invite you to subscribe to Business Underdog on your favorite podcast platform. By subscribing, you'll never miss an episode and you'll be the first to hear these incredible stories. Please be sure to follow us on social and visit our website at businessunderdog.com for episode updates, resources, and more. And thank you for listening today. Until next time, stay inspired, keep pushing forward, and embrace your inner underdog.